Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Welcome to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here. Very glad that you've joined me today. And I want to start off by talking about one of the toughest principles, one of the toughest things that we ever are called to do in a recovery program. We don't just talk about it in recovery. I mean, we could be, it'd be helpful if we were talking about it more in a lot of circles, in a lot of different churches. It's the principle of restitution. And we talk about making amends and making restitution in recovery. But let me just tell you how absolutely important, amazingly important that this is to our God. Jesus said, let me just find the scripture for you, Matthew 5:23-24. Now imagine this. If you're offering your gift at the altar. So he's talking to a very committed person, very faithful. They're not just, going to the temple or church and going through all the motions. This is somebody that's making a sacrifice at the altar. So if you're there, and just think of what you're there for. You're there to worship God and to honor God. And Jesus says, if that's what you're doing, but you remember that your brother or your sister has something against you, leave the gift, leave the offering right there in front of the altar. Don't mess with it. Just leave it and go do what is the next right thing to do. First, it says, go be reconciled to them. That's any brother or sister that is, they've got some unfinished business with you. And go be reconciled with them, and then come and offer your gift. And the word be reconciled means to make proper restitution. There was a principle, and came right out of Numbers 5:7, whenever you need to pay back something that's owed to somebody, add 20% to it if it was something that you took and you weren't supposed to. So really important concept there. Full restitution. Even before you worship God with our offerings. I think that should pretty much let us know how much of a priority this is, that we work out the things horizontally if we're going to work out the things with God vertically. Really, really important concept that a lot of people miss. Well, when we come back, I'm going to talk with Daniel Cornide. And he's a wonderful man. Goes to a recovery church. We'll find all about that. He's a great clinician, and have been helping people for a long time. Married 3 kids. You'll like him. We'll talk with him right after this.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. I want you to meet somebody who's been in recovery a while, licensed to treat people with addiction problems. He's a certified therapist, lives in Florida, and he goes to Recovery Church of Delray Beach. Daniel, welcome to Life Recovery Today. How you doing?
How are you, Steve? Thank you for having me.
I'm all right. Yeah. Now, tell us about Recovery Church, because a lot of churches, they think, well, we don't need recovery. We've got one step. That's all people need. You have a Recovery Church. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the Recovery Church movement was actually founded by Philip Dvorak, and I know you've had him on your show before as a guest. And he basically planted it out of a coffee shop, really. And what the concept was is basically to bring Christ into the 12-step process, to basically have an open door to basically fuse the gospel and the 12 steps. So maybe sometimes, in the rooms, we're not so comfortable maybe going into a church setting. So we wanted to make it possible basically for individuals who have been in the rooms and understand the 12 steps, be able to come into a church setting with open arms and know that not only are we going to be preaching the gospel and teaching people about the love, grace, and mercy of Jesus Christ, but also have a high standing, with the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12 steps, and how to live those principles in your life. And so
I think it's so great that you can have such a warm and welcoming place, and you are all to be commended for that, church. How did you get into recovery? What was going on in your life that caused you to qualify yourself to work in the recovery area?
Well, so, I'm originally from Miami, born and raised, so I'm actually a native Floridian. Life happened. I made some poor decisions, and, I started to go down that wrong path, alcoholism, cocaine addiction, and I got wrapped up in the Miami club scene and just that whole party lifestyle. And I was actually in that scene for almost about 13 years. And so, I saw a lot of consequences from my actions, a lot of brokenness, a lot of guilt and shame. And, they say in the program, jails, institutions, death. Well, you could check off all three of those almost, right? Because
what happened that caused you to say, I got to get out of this way of living?
Well, I'd like to believe that it was, it was a process over time. I was basically just empty and hopeless, and I actually got clean in a program called Faith Farm Ministries out in Boynton Beach.
Wonderful.
And I had basically hit rock bottom. I'd been in Baker acted, suicidal. I was just knew that I couldn't get out of this unless it would take an act of God. And sure enough, I had a phone number from Faith Farm Ministries sitting on my nightstand for about 6 months. My father had been asking me to go ahead and to call to get help, but I eventually, just coming off that bottom, hitting rock bottom, I just picked up the phone and I made that call. And it was the greatest decision I ever made, period.
Do you remember what made you think, okay, this is it, I'm done? I'm just thinking there are people that could be watching and they've never really hit that place. They're still trying harder on their own. But do you remember what it was? Now this time you're going to use that phone number.
Well, sure. So, we're talking about October 1st, 2010, when I finally went in for the last time for treatment. And basically, I just remember coming off a 3-day Coke binge, and sitting outside. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. The sun is out. I'm picking up cigarette butts out of garbage cans, basically. I'm just hopeless and broken. And I just remember it being such a clear blue sky day and just sitting there and I just remember there was this little bird that basically landed on a telephone line. And I just remember looking up at that bird and just saying, I just felt something in my heart saying, if you could only be as free as that bird right now. And I knew that I had to change. There had to be a better way. And so if not, it was going to be, the end of my life, basically.
Yeah, I just have to believe that, God works in mysterious ways, and that was a divine little bird there sent by God. And it's always interesting what can put someone over the line from I got to keep trying to I'm going to go and get some help. In the beginning, what was the roughest part of your recovery? Do you remember?
Well, I think the roughest part of my recovery, I would have to say, I really didn't have a belief system in God. I mean, I was raised in a Catholic household upbringing. I ran away from anything that could be considered spirituality or God. And I think that was the most challenging for me, was really going on that journey and committing myself to, stop listening to what everyone else had to say about God and religion, and really pick up a Bible and start to read the Bible. And I believe that for me, that journey to explore and connect with the person of Jesus Christ through the Holy Spirit was really the most amazing transformation that I could possibly imagine.
Do you remember where you got the Bible, or who got it for you, or how you found it?
Yeah, so Faith Farm Ministries is a long-term. It's a 10-month Christian regeneration program. And I just remember going into that little church out in West Boynton and basically sitting in the back pews. I really had nowhere else to go at that point. And I remember just putting my head between my laps and then just looking up, and right in front of me, there was a Bible in front of me. And that was the beginning of picking that book up and starting to read the scriptures and understand that there is a loving God who's forgiving and merciful, and that started my spiritual journey.
Well, that led you went through, how long were you in treatment then?
So I spent 12 months at Faith Farm Ministries. And then, I wanted to say, when I got out of Faith Farm Ministries, I also got myself plugged in a 12-step men's group through Christ Fellowship.
Great.
And that was for another 12 months. So I almost feel like I had a 2-year foundation before I started really playing this game called life.
Well, I have to believe that doing those two things, you really progressed in the character and maturity building that needs to take place. I wish everybody had a 10-year or 10-month program to go to. So how long was it before you knew you were going to become a therapist and help other addicts?
Well, so immediately after leaving Faith Farm, it was in my heart and in my mind. I gave my life to Christ. He met me at the altar there at Faith Farm, got baptized, and I just knew in my heart that my life would never be the same. One of the prayers that I had kneeling at that altar in that little church out in West Boynton was, Lord, if you reveal yourself to me, I will follow you all the days of my life. And I remember meaning that genuinely. And so that spiritual awakening, basically took me out of returning back to Miami, staying here in Boynton and pursuing this new life, and I knew in my heart now that, I had been working in hospitality. I had been working in other business-oriented jobs. And, I knew my heart was calling me to this field. And so I put in a resume online. And, that's another God moment. I just basically put a resume online and I said, God, open a door for me. I don't really have experience in the field, but I do have a year clean and sober. and I believe that I'm following God. And in less than 20 minutes, I had a call from the Watershed Treatment Center, and they gave me an opportunity as a tech. And the rest is history, I guess, you know?
Oh, I love that. And your recovery and the strength of it, it just reminds me of the stories of Dr. Bob back in Akron. When somebody came to him for help, he would take them up to the upper room and they'd get on their knees and he would lead them to the Lord. And I just have to believe that amazing success rate they had in those early days, the higher power was Jesus, and he tried to bring anyone he could to a relationship with Christ at the very beginning of recovery. And I think that's fantastic. Well, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to hear about your life and how things came together, what it's like to be married and in recovery with 3 wonderful girls. This is Life Recovery Today, and we'll be back right after this short break.
It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis, someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here. I'm talking with Daniel Cornide. And Daniel, your recovery, it's what I wish everybody could experience in recovery. I wish I could have experienced it. But really, it's a year off into a Christ-centered treatment program and then another year in group. I think that's so powerful. And you seem so strong in your recovery. How long between recovery and when you met your wife?
So it was an immediate process. I had met my wife and we started writing each other letters and whatnot, and so I left Faith Farm. And I was me and my wife had gotten married, and so I wanted to make sure that that I did things the right way under God's eyes, and so I knew in my heart when I met my wife that she was going to be my wife, and she'll tell you the same story, I believe. And
was she in recovery or working at the center? How did you meet her?
Yes. So she also is in recovery herself. And actually, awesome. I was able to connect with her during the time that I was at Faith Farm, kind of working at the thrift store. We connected and we started writing each other letters. And I made it clear to her that I was focused on my recovery process and that I wanted to do things right to change my life, and I believe that we did it the right way, and the Lord has blessed us, ever since. And
so a lot of people would say that was a little quick to start recovery and meet somebody and move on to marriage. Why do you think your marriage didn't fall apart when a lot of early recovery stories are kind of a mess? What's the difference in yours?
Yeah, so I think and I like to believe this with all my heart that it was a divine appointment with my wife. I mean, I believe that God put her in my life at that moment in time, and I knew in my heart that was a woman that the Lord would have me be with, and I was committed to make the marriage work as was she, and you know, I can't say that, life wasn't hard, that we
Yeah.
didn't go through difficult circumstances, but I want to say that, her being a strong Christian, and myself being committed to the Lord, I believe that now, looking back, that God actually used that as a process to kind of groom me and work on me like he was working on her.
Yeah.
And so it
Well,
was
that's
an iron
wonderful.
sharpening iron.
Yeah. Well, it feels like from your story that you developed a pretty strong faith and dependency on God early on in recovery. I really admire you for that. It comes through. And I'm wondering, what is something that you, in this whole process, you learned that maybe you didn't know before recovery or before becoming a full therapist? Is there something that you think would be helpful for our folks to hear that maybe they'd miss it if you didn't bring it up right now?
Well, I think, the most powerful thing for me is one of my life scriptures. I'll leave it at that, and that's 2 Corinthians 12, 8 and 9. Where the Lord, through the Holy Spirit, is basically saying that my grace is sufficient for you. For my power is made whole in your weakness. And the Apostle Paul is basically, saying that no matter what you go through in this life, that the Lord will be with you. And I'm a big grace guy. I know because I've experienced grace in my own life.
Sure.
I don't feel worthy of anything that's been bestowed on me. I'm a child of grace, and so,
Yeah.
I believe strongly in that when Paul says that he even boasts in his weaknesses, because then the power of Christ will rest on him and tabernacle on him, and that's one of my life scriptures.
When people say, "Oh, I don't like this higher power concept. I want people to be talking about Jesus." What do you say to that? Because it's a common criticism of 12-step work that I've had to address over the years. But what do you say when somebody says, "Well, I think they ought to be saying Jesus, not just some higher power"?
Of course, and this is something that we deal with here. Especially working in this field. I'm an evangelist at heart. So I would love for everyone to come to know Jesus Christ. But I think that deep down in our core, I believe that there is a belief in something greater than ourselves. The scriptures say we have to suppress that truth. I believe that every person that ends up in the chair in front of me or ends up at our center, I believe that the Holy Spirit put them there. And I believe that people are just looking for answers to questions that they have. And so I think the first 3 steps are just so critical to get to a place, of belief system.
Right.
And I think that we have to be willing to hear and meet people where they're
Yes.
at. That's what Jesus did. Jesus, he remembered that he wasn't winning an argument; he was trying to win a person. And the people that come into our care, they're broken, they're guilt-ridden, they're shamed, they're condemned, and they're seeking help. We have to take that responsibility and be ready to meet people where they're at, and
Amen.
guide them along that process.
And they get so far from the grace and love of God, they often feel like God's angry, going to punish them. It's no wonder that they just have to work their way into discovering the true and real God. One final minute here. What do you say to somebody that really needs to get in recovery, but they're resisting? What would you say to that person?
Well, I think it's important to love that person where they're at, meet them where they're at. I always say to people, God is not a dictator or a tyrant. He's not gonna take your will from you. If you're comfortable where you're at and you want to continue to live this way, that's a choice. That's a choice that you have as a free-willed, autonomous being. But
so true.
I submit and surrender to them that just in my own personal life and my own personal testimony, that there's a much better way, and that they can be free of any addiction. We were never meant to be slaves to anything. We were meant to prosper, and we were meant to have intimate fellowship, not only with God, but also with our fellow man. And recovery can bring you the world that you could beyond your wildest dreams. I always say we're thinking small, God is thinking big.
I really believe that, and I'm so thankful to have you on the program. I'm thankful that you shared your story. I encourage you and your wife and children. It's wonderful to hear such a strong recovery, and really to see how God has repurposed all those gifts He gave you, but that were kind of sunk down below the cocaine addiction, to see how God is using it now. So thank you, Daniel, and I hope to see you down the road a bit. In the meantime, I'll be back right after this break.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. After Daniel was off, he said to me that every person that goes through their treatment program, they get a Life Recovery Bible. I love that. It's one of the greatest joys of my life. And, it never would have happened without my good friend who's not here anymore, Dr. Dave Stoop. I just want to leave you with one encouragement, and that is an encouragement about delayed gratification. We are all prone to the quick fix, the instant solution, relief now and misery later. So just want a little bit of encouragement to delay gratification, be mature, have character, and say no to what you know you should say no to, and then go do the next right thing. I'll see you next time, Life Recovery Today.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.